Hello and welcome back to another Tuesday episode of World Traveler Cooking. We have a special episode for you today because today we are celebrating 450 subscribers. Now, as promised, we will do the final of the 4 French mother sauces. We've already covered Hollandaise, we have covered Veloute, and we have covered Espagnole. The final one is the French tomato sauce Tomate, and it is basically, it's somewhat different from some of your Italian sauces. People will sometimes say, oh, this is the basis for arrabbiata or whatever. It's not. Italian tomato sauces are different. But this is a really good French tomato sauce to be aware of. You could use it in ratatouille. You could use it in a bunch of other things. I will be taking most of this, freezing it, and saving it for the 500 subscriber mark, where we will do a series on daughter sauces. Now, that series will not include demi-glace, just simply because that one's so complicated, I decided to move it to the 1,000 subscriber mark. But for all of the other ones, all the other major daughter sauces, we will do them at the 500 subscriber mark. So please stay tuned if you're interested in French cooking, especially French sauce theory. Now, this particular sauce, we're going to make, at least from everything I've seen, it should be somewhere near a liter. I have 2 kilograms of tomatoes. Yes, we're going to use all of these. You could use 1 large onion, or I have 2 smaller ones. I'll probably use a good part of this tomato paste, we'll see. A bit of salt, I'm expecting a bit over a teaspoon, and possibly maybe a 1/4 teaspoon or so of sugar. On top of that, we'll have some olive oil. People do add herbe de France, herbe de Provence, which is typically a mixture of bay leaf, marjoram, rosemary, and parsley, I think. But I'm not going to do that today. That is sort of an extra thing you can add. The point of mother sauces typically is you can add a variety of extra things to them to get different sauces. So let's go ahead and get started. I'm going to chop my onion fine, and I'm going to cut my tomato into pieces. Then we will get started. So the first step is we're going to add a bit of oil to our wok, and we will add our onion. Now, normally French folks use white onions primarily. Getting white onions here in Indonesia is difficult, so I'm substituting yellow onions. That should work. Just keep in mind there may be some small differences in flavor, but those should be small. I think I'm going to use this spoon to stir everything with today. And I'm just going to saute these until they are nice and translucent. I did forget to mention there will be some garlic added. I have a piece of onion skin there. Another piece of onion skin. Well, I guess it doesn't matter. All that's going to come out when I strain it. So once these are nicely translucent, I will be back. So, these are nicely translucent now. Into this will go our tomatoes. And we will add 2 whole cloves of garlic. And I'm going to stir this for about a few minutes. And then I'll just let it simmer unattended for about half an hour. And we'll cook all these tomatoes down, and then we'll be ready to strain it. Once we strain it, then we'll put it back in the pan, we'll add some more things. And we will reduce it some more. But this is basically the first step. Now, it's worth noting that if you are adding herbes de Provence, then add them now. Don't wait. This is basically when you would add whatever herbs you actually wanted to infuse the tomatoes with. In this case, the garlic. The garlic's going to cook a bit. Hopefully it may soften or not. If it doesn't soften, it's not going to go through the strainer very well. If it does soften, some of it might. So you can already see we already have a lot of juice accumulating in the bottom. This is good. And that's a pretty good indication that now I'll probably come back and just stir it maybe in 5 minutes and see how we're going. So this actually took about 40 minutes. It might have been done at 30 if I had stirred it a little more, but I still had some fairly uncooked pieces at 30, so I let it cook a little longer after stirring those pieces in better. Now we're ready for the straining process. People will often use a food mill for this, but if you don't have a food mill, you can use a wire mesh strainer, which is what I'm going to use here. So I'm going to go ahead and take this off the heat, and basically I'll show you how to use the wire mesh strainer. So what I've done here is I've basically taken my wire mesh strainer and I've put it over a bowl, and now I'm going to take a ladle. I'm just going to ladle some sauce into the strainer. I'm going to take my spoon. This is why I decided to use a spoon here. And I'm just going to scrape it along the side. And basically I can use this kind of like a food mill. And I can scrape everything out. And I can keep doing this through all the rest of the sauce, and then I will be back. So, after the straining, this is what we have. The waste looks like this. And this is going to go back in a pot with some olive oil and some other ingredients. So, eyeballing 2 tablespoons of olive oil into the bottom of the pan here. It can be a little more. Olive oil is good. Like a nice amount of salt. I'm using somewhere between a teaspoon and a tablespoon. To this, we're going to add our tomato sauce. And I also added about the entire can of tomato paste. So now we will bring this back onto a simmer, and we will simmer it for 10 or 15 minutes in order to fully thicken it. And once that happens, we will have our tomato sauce, and then we will cool it. I'm going to try just a little bit on bread for a taste test. But this is the basis of some French sauces, and so it's important to note. So, taste it. I did not add any sugar yet, because the tomatoes I worked with are pretty sweet. If your tomatoes are really acidic, you might need to add some sugar. So, taste, adjust how you like. And then we're going to just cook this for a little bit, and then we will have our French tomato sauce. Be back in 10 minutes. After 10 minutes, you can see how nicely thickened this is. So I'm just going to put a little bit on a plate to sop up with some bread, and we're going to do a taste test. Now the sauce, you can add all kinds of things to it and use it in different ways. You could add capers and cook fish in it. Literally, you know, this is an extremely versatile sauce, and it's one of the reasons why it's mother sauce. So, next up, the taste test. So, before I begin with the taste test, I want to say how impressed I am that this really firmed up and solidified or thickened in a way I really didn't expect, given the amount of tomato paste added and the existing tomatoes. So, evidently it doesn't take that much tomato paste to push things over the side. This looks really, really rich and red. I tasted it in the process of cooking, and because it's made with fresh tomatoes, it's relatively sweet. So I'm going to go ahead and try it. This is very rich, very tomatoey. It's very flavorful. You can see why it is such of a base for so many other sauces. You can also imagine that adding a few herbs would probably bring out the flavors in a different way. Again, might be nice or not, depending upon what you're doing. Very nice. Looking forward to using this in making daughter sauces later. Now, if you find this content interesting, I hope I've earned a like and a subscription from you. Please comment if you make a dish like this, if you make it differently. I will keep instructions down below about how to make this dish with canned tomatoes also. But the fresh tomato version, this is really quite amazing. I'm surprised and impressed. At any rate, recipes in the description. Bon appetit, and see you next week.